Hello there, I'm Dr. Puzzler, and today I wanted to show you how to use my controller input add-on for Adventure Creator. The reason why I made this was specifically for accessibility reasons. Adding controller support to your game helps with accessibility a lot for people who use custom input devices. Just makes things a bit easier. And so this is a way to use controllers in Adventure Creator. Without further ado, let's get into how to use this. Let's see. So first off, installation. You'll want to go to my GitHub page. The link will be in the description. And what we have here is all the files used in the package. So what you can do, there's a few ways you can go about installing this. One, you can open with GitHub Desktop. You can download the zip file. You can copy the GitHub link right here and then pull it in using the package manager also. Add package from Git URL. All of those work fine. As you can see here, we have all our scripts, plus some other files that we'll need, and a Unity package. So if you've downloaded it by GitHub Desktop or by the zip file, you'll want to install it using this editor package. Just double click on that or whatever, and I already have the assets, but it'll install those, import those for you. A couple more things about installation. There are four dependencies that this has. First off, you're obviously going to need Adventure Creator. It's going to be important to have. You're going to need the DoTween asset, which is free, and it's quite nice. It's a tweening asset for Unity. And then you are also going to need to make sure you have both the old and new input system installed and running. And if we go to the player settings, you can make sure that you have them. Once you have the new input system installed, you can make sure that you have both ready by looking at active input handling here and just make sure that's both. So that way we're using both. Now, using the asset. So first off, we have our controller input asset right here. The game uses these 5 main ones. The add-on uses these 5 main ones. Technically it uses this also, but you may not want to use this. This is specific functionality I'm adding for my own stuff, but it works for yours if you need it. So note that you'll want to have all of these. I have the asset included in the add-on for if you want to use this, but if you want to use your own, just make sure you have at least these 5 actions in there, so that way the input system recognizes that. So when we want to create a set of buttons to cycle through, we're going to want to create an empty game object and have a controller manager and a player input asset on that. Now, I do want to add on to this that this is only built to work with the Unity GUI system and Adventure Creator's hotspots. So it won't work with your Adventure Creator menu, default Adventure Creator menus. It will only work with the UI in prefab or in scene. So we'll want our controller manager and our player input in an empty game object. Player input, we're going to want to make sure we have our controller input asset added in there. Make sure that this is set to send messages. This list here is all of the buttons that we want the controller to be able to interact with. And then this here is the actions that we want to run for the back button, for the escape button, and if you so choose, for the map button. Once we have this set up, we can go to our buttons. So for example, we have our new game button right here. So we're going to want to add this controller interactable element script to the button. Now, there's two button modes, Unity UI and Adventure Creator Hotspot. So for Unity UI, we're going to want this one. We're going to have the button to interact with, so the button we want to click when we select the button. You can leave this blank if you've attached this to the button object, and it'll just grab that when the game runs. If this is on a separate object, you'll need to add the button manually. Then we want the image to display. Once again, we can leave it blank if we want to use the image component on the game object. In this case, I have, as soon as Unity loads, I have my own personal image that I'm using in a separate game object. So as you can see here, I am referencing that image right here. Now, fade is just the time that it'll fade the image's alpha when we highlight the button and de-highlight it, so we can adjust that time as we please. Hide icon when selected is when the icon, if we select the button, should the icon, should the image disappear. So sometimes we'll want that on, other times we'll want it off. And then play sound on select, pretty self-explanatory. If we want a sound to play when we select the button, then we'll turn that on. We can leave this blank if the audio source is right here, and we can choose whether or not we want to link the volume to Adventure Creator's volume. Then if we want to use this for a hotspot, the process is pretty much exactly the same. We just change this to Adventure Creator Hotspot instead of Unity UI button. Once again, we can choose a sprite or a hotspot, and a hotspot, if we leave them blank, it'll choose what's on the game object already, and everything else is the exact same. So let me show you what this looks like in practice. And as you can see here, I have just a regular old Xbox controller, and it should work with any regular gamepad. Perfect. So I can use the joysticks back and forth horizontally, or I can use the D-pad horizontally and vertically to select. If I push the bottom button or the left button on Xbox, that is A and X, but depending on what controller you're using, it can be different. So it's south and west buttons. That will trigger the button that we are highlighting. So just like so, and so on and so forth. And if I push back, it will trigger the back action list that was defined in our controller manager. Now, a couple of extra things to know. One, you will need a controller manager for every single set of buttons you want to affect at a time. So in this case of my main menu, I have the title menu and the different settings menus all in their own separate sets. So each of these needs their own settings controller. So that way they are all affecting a different set of buttons. There are a few limitations to this add-on that you can adjust if you know how to script. You can adjust the scripts to fit your needs. But there are a few limitations. One, as I mentioned, this only works with hotspots and with the Unity GUI system, so not with the Adventure Creator menu system. So that's something to be aware of. Two, for the hotspots, this will only work with the use interaction. You can add that extra functionality if it's needed. In my games, it's not, so I just didn't bother to add that. Those are the main limitations of the asset. So that's all for this video. Be sure to do all the YouTube things like liking and commenting and subscribing if you want to. It would be appreciated. And if you are interested, you can join the Discord. The link for that will be in the description. I'd love to see you there. Also, one last plug is check out my games on Steam. Right now I have The Source and Rests of Corruption, both of which you can wishlist on Steam and play the demos for. Rest of Corruption will be releasing later this year, and The Source will be releasing eventually. I don't know. I don't have a good release schedule on The Source, but be sure to wishlist both of those. Try the demos. I'm super excited for them. And so, yeah, that is all I have to say for today. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye! Where's the button? There it is.